The justifications of the alt-right. The connection to the Sunni material that inspired me to do this was by the Perception of Muslim Women and History in the Eyes of the Witness. The Perception of Muslim Women shows how perception can, your perception of a culture can shape like the actions you take towards that culture. Examples of this in the article include when people say that they want to save Muslim women without truly understanding what it means to be a Muslim woman, or even accepting that people can really be Muslim women, because they have to be like Americanized and like you. It's very egocentric here. And the other one is the History in the Eyes of the Witness. It shows how history is interpreted it shows in the interpretation of history. All right, so people, they get history from the witness, and they aren't necessarily supposed to put down word for word what the witness says. What they're supposed to do is change what it says so that you can see the political atmosphere of it without being like smashed by all the bias in it. And it also shows that history goes through waves of acceptance. I found this interesting because like the high raises history, some of the things the alt-right uses to justify itself actually goes through waves of being accepted in the world. My view is that the alt-right truly really has no evidence to support itself. It's based off of the hatred and lies, basically. I think we should stop giving them media attention, because all we're doing is strengthening them. Now, before I go on, have you heard of the alt-right? Actually, today I was surprised. Two of my classmates, I told them what I was presenting, and they didn't know what the alt-right was in 2018. Take this article from, or not article, but a graph from 2016. It's taken by the Pew Research Center. It was taken on December 12, 2016, shortly after Donald Trump was made president-elect. And as you can see, 54% of Americans had no idea what the alt-right was, other than it was a name. That 1% there is people who have never heard of it whatsoever. 28% said that they knew a little bit about the alt-right, and 17% said they knew a lot. The thing that makes alt-right different is that it's not like traditional white supremacy. In the United States, when you think of white supremacy, you think of the Ku Klux Klan burning crosses and the silly costumes. But the alt-right takes on a whole new view. It more looks like a teenager in college, really, than an actual racist. It's scary because it's new, and people don't know how to deal with it because of how interconnected we are nowadays. This is a proper definition of the alt-right. The alternative right, commonly known as the alt-right, is a set of far-right ideologies, groups, and individuals whose core belief is that white identity is under attack by multicultural forces using political correctness and social justice to undermine white people and their civilization, like the Southern Poverty Law Center. Famous. Thing to understand about this is alt-right, it's not something like an entity like the KKK with individual branches that you can identify. It's more like a classification. So a group that mainly posts racist, white supremacist stuff online could be classified as the alt-right, but maybe they themselves may not even classify themselves as an alt-right. Question: does the alt-right properly justify itself? Now I'm going past things like freedom of speech or like if you morally agree with the alt-right. Personally, I don't, but that's not what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at what evidence they use to support their views of being superior. How the alt-right supports their arguments. One of the things they use is scientific racism. You may have heard it in your history class one day. I know I have. It was prevalent in the 1600s, 1920s, and it was announced in the 1950s by UNESCO after a tragic event in the 1940s which led to the deaths of millions. It was made solely for the purpose of European imperialism. It was made so that they could justify the fact that they were crushing these people and taking their resources and assimilating them into their culture and spreading their own. It was solely a justification. There was nothing about it that was true. It's a pseudoscience. A pseudoscience is a science that claims to be factual and backs itself up with exaggerated claims or with claims that are unfalsifiable. What you notice is in these claims, an example of exaggeration, I'm pretty sure people have seen that picture where it compares a Greek, a black, and a monkey skull. The monkey skull looks like a monkey skull, and the black skull looks more like a monkey skull than a human. And that is a straight up lie. They looked at a normal human skull from a deceased African, and they changed it so they could justify what they're doing in Africa. What they also do is they misinterpret statistics and history, either willingly or by accident. There are three types of lies: banned lies, and statistics. What they do is they provide a wrong explanation for statistics. So I'm sure everyone has at least once heard the Black people make up 13% of the United States, yet they cause half of the crimes and are also 90% of the homicides. Everyone's heard that before. What the alt-right does, they say it's because blacks are either naturally inferior or are bringing their harmful culture over to the United States, without even looking at things like economic stance or like, you know, availability of advancement. It's all to them just a thing about race, and that's wrong. What they also do is they do not interpret history. They like to quote historical documents. And while that's okay when you interpret it in a way that makes sense in the 21st century, what they do is they take this view that was made specifically to hold the prop of institutions in the like 1600s to 1900s, and they take it and they try to apply it to our modern world. Like, what are they trying to do? They're just trying to lie to you. So why is this important? Of course we have the discrimination, because, you know, that's not good in the United States, but also we have things like, is lying okay? Can these people lie? Because nothing is stopping them from lying. The Constitution says you can say what you want as long as you aren't advocating for direct violence against someone, or like threatening someone's life, is what I mean. And is even listening to them okay? Because everyone is tempted every now and again to go and just listen to what these people say. But by listening to them, you're giving them power. And that's not okay. So my solution? We need to stop the media needs to stop giving the alt-right attention. That's mainly what they revel in, the attention they get. Any type of attention, whether positive or negative. A rally against the alt-right probably does more to further them than ignoring them completely. And we also need to push against their sources. I think everyone in the United States should know what pseudoscience is, and I think everyone should know that scientific racism does not exist. It is completely fake. There's nothing scientific about it. And we also need to get people to verify their information. They need to check themselves what they like, if what they're looking at is reliable. Don't look at a news source. Go and actually see if you can find the information yourself. But there are limitations to this. In the 21st century, it's impossible to spread information, to stop the spread of information. We're just connected like that. It's the reason the internet advocated. And also, prejudice will always exist as long as there are two different people in the world, or in the galaxy even. And also, in a few years, there'll probably be a new issue. In a few years, I assume that the alt-right will be defunct. No one will care, no one will remember. That's because it's new. And just like fascism in the 1940s, or communism in the 1950s, once the novelty wears off, people will abandon the cause. So.
All right. So let me ask you two questions. So, how did you select the strategies you used to gather this information and conduct your research, and how do you know it was effective?
All right, so I started from the most obvious source, so political articles. I started from political articles and I went down. So I went from political articles to reviews of political articles, and then I went on to actual things that they quoted, like scientific racism or pseudoscience. And I figured out what that meant, and then I explained it.
Okay. So your solution about not giving them any attention, what do you think that the implications of that would be, if that happened, or the consequences of that?
Consequences of that? I guess it could be seen as, it is kind of going against free speech, because you're straight up telling people to not look at these people, but by doing that, you're telling them what to think, and you can't do that according to the Constitution. That's a problem with this, because in order to stop someone, you need to directly interfere with their lives, and the Constitution tends to stop that. Some of the stuff that people in Britain, like banning hate speech, can do, you can't do in the United States. It's unconstitutional.
Right. Well, thank you.
Only two?